The latest tech.
I'm Alexa. I can answer your questions.
Interviews.
And we are evolving, and we are seeing an amazing opportunity that is happening.
Accessibility.
Accessibility is one of our core values. It's even a part of our mission statement.
This is Doubletap TV.
Welcome to another edition of Doubletap TV. Thank you guys so much for being here each and every single week. And thank you for getting involved. Thank you for emailing feedback at ami.ca. Love the emails that come in there. Thank you for getting in touch on social media at Doubletap Canada with that hashtag, which is AskDoubletap. I am Mark Aflalo. Stephen Scott is by my side each and every single week. You know, Stephen, I think about emails that come in, and we get some fun ones, whether it's, people who love us. There are people who hate us and people who criticize, but we love the emails regardless, and we actually answer every single one of them.
Yeah, we do. We do. And, it's important to get that feedback, right? Because when you get in touch with us, it's great because whether it's good, bad, indifferent, it's all good. At the end of the day, we are really trying to provoke conversation here. And there's not a lot of this in the blind community. We want to provoke discussion and give people a place to come on and share their views and share your topics. If there's something you want to tell us about, a story you'd like to share, then get in touch with us. Of course, you've heard the details from Mark. We'll give them again later in the episode.
Well, you know what? This actual episode is about, screen reading technology. We're going to be talking about screen reading technology for a specific reason. That's because someone did email us and say, hey, why don't you guys talk about screen reading technology? So really, Stephen, give me some history here, because this technology has come quite a long way. And I think once things like cameras got into our phones and various technologies evolved over time, this is an example of something leveraging that technological advancement, is it not?
Yeah, so you say screen reading, and it is. That's a big part of this. But of course, ultimately, this is about magnification as well. Now, what we've seen over the years is magnification products and screen reading products, or speech products, essentially that turn text into speech. You maybe hold a device over the top, and it will read that information to you. But, we don't have many of these products that fuse the two together. And again, it's all about choice. It's about creating opportunity for a blind or low vision person to be able to go between. Sometimes it's very easy for someone who's low vision to use a magnifier to zoom into something, to maybe look at a picture, maybe to do a crossword on a newspaper. But equally, when it comes to reading long paragraphs of text, maybe like a newspaper, that can be quite difficult. So the ability to be able to just switch on the reading mode and have the device read it to you, as opposed to have to read it using your eyes, is much more relaxing. And there are a lot of people who benefit from this, right? It's not even people who are necessarily going to lose all of their sight. There's a lot of people who are in that middle ground who have some useful remaining vision they can use for daily tasks, but equally find it very tiring to read for long periods. So these devices really make the difference. Now, it's interesting you talk about mobile, because of course we do have mobile phones that are capable of all of this now. But there's a lot of people out there, Mark, who just don't want that kind of technology, who don't feel comfortable using it. And also, some people just want to read and relax. You don't necessarily want to be holding your phone all the time, because let's be honest, when you're not reading the newspaper, you're probably holding your phone, right? So you might want to put it down for 5 minutes and instead pick up a device which kind of shuts off the world and lets you read in peace. So these devices allow you to do that. And they come from a long tradition of magnification devices that started off with your traditional magnifier that wasn't electronic, that you just handheld in front of you, up to now these electronic magnifiers that have LCD screens or LED screens, high performance cameras in them, and they're portable. You can take them anywhere with you. You can take them shopping. You can take them to the library. You can put them in your bag and take them on holiday with you. There's lots of different applications for these, from reading cans of food to reading a newspaper. So, they really have moved on a lot. And this latest iteration brings a lot of this technology into one, frankly, portable, although it is 10 inches, it is a portable device, which I'm really excited we'll talk about today.
And that device is the Ruby line of, magnification devices. Have you had experience hands-on with these devices in the past?
I have. I'll be honest, I don't use much of them these days because my sight just doesn't let me read for any long period of time. So again, I'd be looking for that ability to read aloud, which is great. But I don't necessarily need the magnification. So me personally, this is not something that I would go out and buy. But for someone who, again, has that useful vision, and bear in mind, there are only, I think it's like worldwide 4 or 5%, I don't know the exact number, but it's like a very small number of people in the world who actually have no vision at all, right? So For that reason, there's a huge number of people out there who still have some useful vision. There are a lot of people who don't even consider themselves visually impaired, just have difficulty with reading. There are people with other reading problems like dyslexia who can really benefit from these reading devices. So that's kind of where these products come into their own. And I think, for me, a long time ago, I used to use desktop versions, which were big table devices that you had XY table in front of you and you had big knobs to change the magnification level and zoom level and all of that and focus level and all of these things. Nowadays, they're all handheld. And it's a great time to be using this kind of tech.
Well, we've got someone standing by who works at a company that actually sells these devices, not only this device, but other devices. Her name is Sharon Lyons, and she's going to be joining us for a company called Sight and Sound. So let's take a quick break, Stephen. I'm going to remind people how to get in touch with us on social media. It is at doubletap Canada with that hashtag, which is AskDoubleTap. By email, feedback@ami.ca is our email address. Let us know about your experience with, either these magnification device or other screen reading technology. I'd be curious to know what you think, especially after this week's episode. It is Double Tap TV. He is Stephen Scott. I am Mark Aflalo. We'll come back with Sharon after this.
For more great Double Tap TV content, visit ami.ca/doubletap. This is Double Tap TV.
We are back on Double Tap TV. Thank you guys so much for being with us each and every single week. I'm going to remind you again how to get in touch with us because we love hearing from you. Our email address is feedback@ami.ca. On social media, if you're not already following us, what are you waiting for? It is at doubletap Canada, and if you use the hashtag, which is AskDoubletap, helps us, weed out all the junk and find the actual communication that you guys want to talk to us about, which we do each and every single week. I am Mark Aflalo. Stephen Scott is by my side, live from Glasgow, Scotland. Stephen, we're talking about, magnification, electronic magnification devices. And one of the things I wanted to kind of throw out to you before, we bring our next guest on, which we're going to talk specifically about the Ruby 10 and the whole Ruby lineup of stuff, is, the fact that on my iPhone now, I go to magnification and I can use my iPhone. It has a camera built in, it has everything else, and it's in my pocket. So, and I know we talk about this and we touched upon it before, but how much do you think that has impacted the marketplace when it comes to devices like this, specifically because we're kind of cannibalizing by something that we're already buying and already have in our pockets?
Well, that's right. And it's a really difficult issue, this one, because when you look at electronic video magnifiers, they are specialist devices. But what people don't realize is these are actually, in the most part, Android tablets or Android devices, even in some cases Android phones that have been turned into these devices using launcher software, which essentially takes over the system. So you never actually see the Android part of the phone, right? You're always inside the world of the software that is created for it. We've seen that with HumanWare, with their Prodigy lineup. That was all Android based. It's the same with the Connect 12 and various other of these devices. So yeah, it's interesting. People say, well, I don't want to use a smartphone, but then they go out and buy a smartphone, which is by another name. So yeah, it's a difficult one, but it's all to do with the ease of use ultimately. And oftentimes it's because these devices have physical buttons attached. So those physical buttons could be part of the overall build of the system that give you the control over the magnification, that give you the control over the contrast, and easy to use, easy to see big buttons. So it's good for people who are older, who've got issues with their hands and their dexterity. And it solves all those problems. Whereas with a touch screen, you need to know how to use that. You need to have the access already. The truth is, a lot of blind people who are tech savvy will also have an electronic video magnifier. And they will use that because perhaps they just want to relax. They don't want to get notifications while they're trying to read a newspaper article, or maybe they're doing their crossword. They don't want the hassle of that. So for that reason, they might want a separate device, but equally they may well use that magnification app or feature built into iOS, or on Android there are apps. Although apparently on Android, interestingly, no dedicated magnification feature in the same way you get with iPhones at this stage.
What I love about the iPhone, too, is the fact that people, who might not even known the specialized devices existed are now benefiting from that kind of technology, which is pretty cool, which is why I'm excited for our next guest.
Joining us this week to demonstrate the Ruby 10 we've been talking about today is Sharon Lyons. Now, Sharon comes from the Sight and Sound technology company based in the UK. Sharon herself is based in Ireland. Sharon, great to have you here on Double Tap TV.
Thank you, Stephen.
Sharon, tell us a little bit about Sight and Sound before we dive into the Ruby 10 itself.
Yeah, sure. So Sight and Sound technology have been around for over 40 years in the UK, and they are the main distributors of a lot of well-known products in the assistive technology area. So things like JAWS, your screen reading software, and Zoom Text and Fusion magnification. Also a whole load of Braille equipment we provide, and a whole wide range of magnification equipment and magnification kind of workstations, and some of these more portable devices that we're looking at today.
Now, Sharon, I know you're based in Ireland and the company is UK-wide, but you also serve customers around the world, yeah?
So we have a lot of online content about different equipment and discussions on the different assistive technology that's available out there. We have our finger on the pulse, so we're always looking at the new advanced devices that are coming out. And the other thing that we do is that we are a bunch of people that like to provide this equipment to you, but we're also there to help you use it. And all our products come with lifetime support. So even when it's out of warranty, we're still here to assist you if it stops working.
Okay, so let's get into this then, the Ruby 10 that you've got in front of you there. Can you describe to us how this product looks and how it works?
So this is the carry case that the Ruby 10 comes in, and it has a strap so you can carry it around. It's nice and padded, so it keeps it nice and safe. And if I open it up here now, inside we have the charger. The charger is a USB-C charger, so you may even have one of them hanging around anyway. And this is the Ruby 10 itself.
Now, we should mention in the Ruby lineup, we've got the original Ruby, the Ruby 7, the Ruby HD, the Ruby XL HD, but this one is the Ruby 10, which is the one that most resembles a tablet, and it's the largest of the lineup.
The Ruby 10, like the other Rubies, have tactile buttons, colorful buttons on both sides, and I can go through those, but we've got our kind of nice yellow plus and minus buttons, and we've got our red camera buttons. So it kind of, if you're familiar with the Ruby devices, it's kind of following the same layout, the same kind of color scheme that you may be used to. Well, it has 3 cameras on it, and it also not only has the buttons, which are nice and simple to use, but it has a touch screen as well, and it speaks to you as well.
And
okay.
Is that the first Ruby that does that?
Yes, it is, actually, it is. So most of the Rubies that I showed you earlier were all just nice, simple magnification. Whereas this has OCR in it, so optical character recognition. So you can take a picture of a page and get it to read it back to you, which is particularly nice on days when maybe you have eye strain, or you're just too tired to try and read something even magnified.
Sharon, how many cameras are on that device?
So there's the near camera for reading your documents. There's the OCR camera for taking a picture of a whole page and reading that.
That's brilliant, Sharon, and I know you've got other things on that table you want to show us as well, which we're really excited about, but we're going to take a break first, right, Mark?
Yes, we are. We're going to take a quick break and come back with more from Sharon, so stick around, you guys at home. This is Double Tap TV with Stephen Scott and Mark Aflalo, and our guest Sharon from Sight and Sound will be back after this.
For more great Double Tap TV content, visit ami.ca/doubletap. This is Double Tap TV.
We are back on Double Tap TV. Thank you guys for being with us each and every single week. I am Mark Aflalo with Stephen Scott, and our guest this week from Sight and Sound in the UK is Sharon Lyon, Stephen.
Yeah, and we were talking this week, of course, about the Ruby 10, which is the new kid on the block. But Sharon, you've got in front of you the entire Ruby lineup of electronic magnifiers.
Well, this is the range of Ruby magnifiers. So there are various different screen sizes and for kind of handiness in the shop. So we have one here that's about 4 inches screen size and up to a 7 inch. And these have been around for quite a while. The rubies, they're digital magnifiers. They're very robust. They're very easy to use. You don't have to be a technical expert to use them.
Sharon, sorry to cut you off there for a second, but I'm curious, why are there different sizes?
Well, it depends on how handy you want it to be. So obviously the 4-inch screen, the smaller one, you can put in your pocket. Well, they all actually come with cases with belt loops and straps as well, so you can kind of put it on your shoulder. So they're very handy, very portable. But depending on your eye condition and how much magnification you need, the larger screen, you're going to get more words on it, you know. So so the smaller screen is good for just reading maybe envelopes, receipts, or like I say in the shops, like a price or a use by date on packaging. Whereas the larger one, you'll be able to kind of read your letters and more comfortably.
Are the larger ones more for at-home use, simply because of the weight and size?
Yes, but they're very light. Now, I can't remember off the top of my head how heavy the Ruby 7 is, but the Ruby 10, because I have all the information to hand, the Ruby 10 is less than a kilo. It's like 900 odd grams. It's 2.2 pounds. So they're not heavy, and they're designed to be like that. And they're very simple pieces of equipment. You know, there's a lot of smart devices out there at the moment, but these just do one thing.
Sharon, what about different eye conditions? Is there one that's more suited than another for a specific condition?
I've been working, for about 17 years, working with people with low vision, and even two people with the same eye condition, I would never assume that that a particular color scheme or a particular size would be better for them. It's not until you actually sit down in front of the thing, the user, and can tell me, yes, this works. You know?
Do you tend to get people looking at these products who are not particularly tech savvy? Because, you know, I think a lot of tech people will tend to think, well, my smartphone can do this, right? So is it more people who are non-tech savvy that would buy this kind of product, or is it a combination of both?
I know a particular gentleman, I won't mention any names, but he's extremely tech savvy, and he swears by his Ruby magnifier. He has a small handheld one, and he just wouldn't be without it, because he can just switch it on, just does its job, and it's just very handy, and the battery lasts a long time, and it's just very reliable for him. So yeah, and also, if you're not tech savvy, the great thing about Rubies is that they have buttons. They have tactile, different colored buttons on them that are very easy to use. So you only have to learn, you know, how to use a few buttons.
Brilliant. Sharon, thank you so much for coming on to tell us all about the Ruby 10. And of course, if you want more information about sight and sound technology, you can find out more at the web address sightandsound.co.uk. Sharon, thanks for being with us on Double Tap TV this week.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Stephen. All the best.
Stephen, it's so nice to have a resource, you know, like Sight and Sound to be able to go to for some of this kind of specialist tech. But I'm curious, you know, from your perspective, and I know that you've researched a lot of this stuff, is there are alternatives to the Ruby lineup, right? There are other things that, you know, are more portable, some less portable, some designed for different use cases, right?
Yeah, I mean, I said it earlier, you know, I can't use these myself, but I am absolutely fascinated by these devices because they are so useful, and I kind of wish if I had more sight I'd be able to use them, right? But I don't, and that's the way it is. But for other people, for you out there who can benefit from this technology, and that's a lot of people, I think there's a lot of great options. Now, of course, we talk about Ruby today, and we talked about the different lineups of the Ruby devices, but there's so many others, and the price points go from very cheap to very expensive, and you can imagine, of course, the feature set goes with that, right? But, you know, I think you can look at devices like the Clover, which tends to be the lower end of the scale. The Clover is a cool little device. You're talking, you know, $300 or $400 as opposed to hundreds and hundreds more. Now, that is just for text magnification. It's an electronic video magnifier. So it's a video version of those handheld magnifiers you might have had previously. Or the ones you buy in magazines. You always see them in magazines, don't you, those handheld magnifiers. Well, this is the electronic version. You can go up to the other end of the scale where you've got I think about ones like the Snow, the Luna. Then, of course, you've got ones that have got OCR built in, which can read the text back to you aloud. A bit like the Ruby, like the Connect 12 from Humanware and other devices like that. There's lots of these out there. If you want something small from Humanware, there's the Explore 8 or even the Explore 5, which is very similar. It's almost like Humanware's equivalent to the Ruby lineup. So there's lots of devices out there that can do this, that are available. You know, check in with your local supplier, check in with your local CNIB office, get information, get hands-on on these devices. That's how you'll find out what's right for you.
Brilliant. Stephen Scott, thank you so much for being by my side each and every single week. And thank you guys at home for getting involved. Again, if you want to send us an email, it's feedback@ami.ca. Again, on social media, if you're not already following us, do that now, okay? At DoubleTap Canada. And send us a tweet. You know, use the hashtag AskDoubleTap, and we'll get to your questions and your emails on future shows. On behalf of our guest Sharon and Stephen Scott, I am Mark Aflalo. We will speak to you again next week on DoubleTap TV.
Hosted by Mark Aflalo and Stephen Scott. Editing Jordan Steves and Mark Aflalo. Voiceover Anna Vicino. Integrated Described Video Specialist Ron Rickford. Coordinating Producer Jennifer Johnson. Director Production Kara Nye. Director Programming Brian Perdue. VP Content Development and Programming John Melville. President and CEO David Arrington. Copyright 2022 Accessible Media Inc.